Do you think the Ford Thunderbird was just an ordinary boulevard cruiser for the wealthy? Think again. From cars that carried an actual bulging screen television inside the cabin in 1967 to street racing machines disguised beneath layers of executive luxury that vanished from dealership floors in just 2 hours. Today, we're going to roll back through history to identify 6 of the rarest, most expensive, and most outrageous Thunderbird versions you may have never even known existed. If I had to choose one Thunderbird that makes me pause the longest, it would be the 1963 Thunderbird, Italian. Every time I mention it, I picture America in the early 1960s, when Ford's traveling display tours, known as the Custom Caravan, roamed from state to state like a mechanical circus filled with bright lights and the rich scent of gasoline in the air. The story began simply. A brand new 1962 Thunderbird convertible rolling off the assembly line and sent straight to Dearborn steel tubing. But under the hands of Vince Gardner, it was no longer an ordinary Thunderbird. The original roof was replaced with a fiberglass fastback design, giving the car a longer, lower profile as if it were lunging forward even while standing still. To make it look as modern as possible, they even used the 1963 front fenders and doors, a clever blend of 2 model years that made the car truly one of a kind. When you look into its interior, you no longer see a production car. You see a concept jet from the jet age. Exquisitely upholstered leather, a dramatically sculpted dashboard. Every line intentionally designed to overwhelm the senses. Many people call it a concept car, but to me it feels more like a factory custom. A statement that Ford could be both luxurious and bold to the point of pure theater. And then, in 1964, at the New York World's Fair, the Italian shined among the cavalcade of custom cars like a movie star. It was never born for mass production. It was born to make people stop in their tracks, lower their voices, and whisper, "Thunderbird could really go this far." When I think about 1967, I immediately think of the Thunderbird that carried an ambitious name, Apollo. And believe me, that name was no coincidence. It was a time when America was looking up at the sky, and Ford decided to place that very space-age spirit directly into an executive coupe. It all began when Ford set its sights on the upper-tier business class. Men in gray suits flying first class who expected their cars to reflect that same level of status. They struck a deal with Abercrombie & Fitch in a bold collaboration rarely seen at the time. 5 Thunderbird hardtops were sent to Dearborn steel tubing for surgery. The roof was cut away and replaced with an electric sunroof, a feature that felt almost like science fiction in 1967. The body was enhanced with Lando-style trim and dressed in a formal vinyl roof. The interior was upholstered in deep blue leather, giving the sensation of stepping into the first-class cabin of a Boeing. But what truly left me stunned was inside. Foldaway desks extended just like on an airplane. A compact Philco television sat right there in the car. A radio telephone. Yes, a telephone in a car in 1967. The front passenger seat could recline, turning the drive into a mobile workspace. This was no longer just a coupe. It was an executive office on wheels. 5 were built. 1 was destroyed on its way to San Francisco. The remaining 4 were displayed during the holiday season and later sold for around $15 Saudi each, a figure that was nearly the price of an average home at the time. Next came the 1963 Thunderbird Sports Roadster M Code, and I always feel as if I'm standing before the final farewell of an era. 1963 was the last year of the Bulletbird generation, and Ford seemed determined to carve one last deep mark before closing that chapter. On paper, the Sports Roadster was still a 4-seat Thunderbird. But when I saw the fiberglass tunnel cover stretching over the rear seats, transforming the car into a pure two-seater silhouette, I understood that this was Ford's way of recalling the glorious 1955 to 1957 years. Its long, low, and fluid lines, combined with the gleaming Kelsey Hay wire wheels, made the car look as if it were parked outside a resort in Palm Beach, waiting for its owner to step out in sunglasses and a summer blazer. The $563 price tag in 1963 was no small commitment. Perhaps that's why only 455 sports roadsters were produced. But what truly made me pause was what lay beneath the hood. 3 two-barrel Holley carburetors were lined up atop the 390 cubic in high-performance V8. 6 fuel throats opening like a brass section from Detroit, ready to roar. 340 horsepower, a figure strong enough to make many early 1960s muscle cars think twice, was delivered through the Smooth Cruise O-matic transmission. Out of those 455 cars, only 37 carried the M code 37. When I think about that number, I don't just see rarity. When Thunderbird was set to return in the early 2000s, I was skeptical. How could anyone revive an icon that had been born in the age of chrome and rock and roll? But then came the arrival of the 2002 Thunderbird Neiman Marcus edition. And I understood that Ford wasn't just trying to sell a car. They were trying to sell a memory. Under the direction of design, Chief J. Mays. The 11th generation carried a deliberately retro silhouette, the signature egg crate grille, the porthole window echoing the 1950s and body lines that felt both soft and modern. And then, on September 25, 2000, Neiman Marcus placed this special edition into their luxury catalog. And what happened next unfolded so fast, it was almost unbelievable. All 200 units were completely sold out in just 2 hours and 15 minutes at a price of $41,995 each, even though customers wouldn't actually take delivery until late September or early October of 2001. I always imagine gentlemen sitting at their computers or placing phone orders as if they were chasing down a limited edition Swiss watch. This version wore a deep evening black finish paired with a black soft top and a removable hard top painted in satin silver metallic. That contrast created a presence that felt formal, yet undeniably nostalgic. On the porthole window glass, the Thunderbird logo was delicately etched. A small detail, but enough to make it clear that this was no ordinary production car. If there is one Thunderbird that truly gives me chills every time I mention it, it's the 1957 F code, the final year of the original two-seat generation, and the moment Thunderbird decided to prove it was anything but weak in the face of Corvette. Under the hood of the FOD sat a 312 cubic inch YB block V8, but that was only the beginning. Ford bolted on a McCulloch-Paxton VR57 centrifugal supercharger paired with a Holley 4-barrel carburetor and an 8:5-to-1 compression ratio, 300 gross horsepower, and in NASCAR tune that number could reach 340 horsepower. Torque was around 340 lb-ft from 0 to 60 mph in under 8 seconds with a top speed of approximately 130 mph. Remember, this was 1957, when many family sedans were still struggling to reach 90 mph. The Thunderbird F code was charging down the straightaway like a storm. But the real reason the F code existed was not for boulevard cruising. It was created to homologate for NASCAR competition. From this foundation, the F code Daytona Battlebird racers were born and left their mark on racing history. This was Detroit going Allen, using the showroom to pave the way for the racetrack, and only around 200 street legal F-Birds were ever produced. Going back to 1960, you no longer see the image of a compact two-seat roadster. You see a Thunderbird that had matured, larger, more squared off, and confidently stepping into a new era. The Squarebird generation wasn't trying to outcorner the Corvette. It focused on glamour, comfort, and the feeling of commanding the open highway. And the market responded. 843 units were sold that year, a record-breaking number. But among those tens of thousands of cars, there was one variant that makes me pause a little longer. J-Code, hidden beneath the hood, was a special 430 cubic in V8, commonly known as the Thunderbird 430 Special, 350 horsepower, a figure that was anything but modest in 1960. When I imagine myself behind the wheel, I don't think about screaming burnouts. I think about pressing the throttle on a long, straight stretch of highway and feeling that heavy machine surge forward with commanding authority. A true stealthy bruiser, refined on the outside, but ready to throw a steel punch when called upon. What truly makes the J-Code special is its rarity. Only 377 units were produced with this configuration, among nearly 93 zero-euro Squarebirds. That number feels like a secret, hidden in plain sight. And then there's a story that still sounds unbelievable to me. Ford once built 2 Thunderbirds entirely out of stainless steel for Allegheny Lum. Each one carried a price tag of around $35,000, an almost absurd amount of money in 1960. That was no longer a commercial automobile. It was a gleaming metal science project. So, which Thunderbird shocked you the most? Drop your answer down in the comments below. Don't forget to hit like, subscribe, and turn on the notification bell so you won't miss the next crazy automotive history stories. I'll see you in the next video.